Hey guys, this is part 2 to Who the Fuck Did I Get Engaged to and Have Two Kids With. If you didn't watch part 1, I recommend you go back and watch that one. And then also know that when I made that video, I was about a month out of my relationship with him. And when I made this video today, I'm about a year out of it. So just look at that transformation. Just know that's what a year without a toxic man will do to you. Anyways, um, so I did originally post that video almost a year ago, and he texted me and told me that he would do whatever he had to do to get me fired from my job, which he knew my job was like basically like the most important thing to me. It was like the one thing that's always been stable in my life. Um, which since then I've lost it. So I obviously I'm not worried about losing my job now. And then he also said he'd call CPS, which he did do, and CPS did ban him from reporting because they did verify it was a false report. And I showed them the messages of him saying that he was going to do that anyways. So now, because of all the different things I endured in our relationship, I definitely could not tell you like verbatim what happened. But I will share different experiences and different things that happened to me throughout this relationship. And I'm going to do that because it's my story to share, so I will share it. I didn't really tell anybody, but he basically gave me like the ultimatum, like me or your friends. And after, I was already pregnant and I already had one kid out of marriage, and I was like, you know what? It's you. I don't want another broken family. That was so painful for me. So yeah, I choose you. He had a hard time keeping jobs, and I didn't realize that until after we were already together for like 6 months. He lost the job, and then he got a new job. He would work jobs for like 2 to 3 weeks at a time. One of the most painful things was in the beginning. Um, right after I had my daughter, I was struggling with postpartum, and I confided in him these heavy thoughts I was feeling, and just like I didn't feel like good enough to be a mom to two kids. Like I didn't know how to share my love. Like when I'm holding my daughter, I felt like I was abandoning my son, and when I'm talking to my son, I felt like my daughter wasn't getting that newborn love that she needs to get. And I will never forget, he took that weakness and he ran with it. He made sure that I felt horrible about myself as a mom. He told me that I would never be good enough to be a mom to both of them, and that my baby girl deserved better than me, and that I only cared about my son. And literally every single thing I did every day, if I sat her down to get my son something, I was a horrible mom and I only cared about my son no matter what I did. I wasn't a good enough mom, and I know that now, but um, you know, fresh postpartum, I believed everything he was saying. And it just got to the point where I remember holding them one night and just sobbing. I did not want to be on this earth. And I was right in front of him, doing that, like holding them and just crying. And he was literally just telling me, yeah, you don't deserve to be here. Um, and I just remember like thinking, isn't it he's supposed to be comforting me? Isn't he supposed to be telling me I'm just delusional? These are just crazy thoughts. And um but no, he was telling me I was right. My thoughts were right. Finally end up telling my family about some of the things and how it just felt like they were not right, and they did beg me to leave him, which I was honestly shocked because, we were engaged and I thought they would tell me to work it out, but they wanted me to leave him, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Um, and then so when I went back to work, I worked at a childcare facility, and now I had two kids, so I was paying like $800 a month for two kids, and my checks were significantly lower, and I wasn't able to pay as much of the bills. which he started throwing in my face all the time. He basically was like, you need to get a new job. And one, I really loved my job, and I knew I wanted to work my way up. Knew that you had to find childcare no matter what, and I already felt safe and comfortable with, so I was not going to do that. And he didn't really like that. So every single day I wasn't enough. I didn't make enough. It got to the point to where he wouldn't keep a job, so then I was really paying everything. I was working a full-time job and doing all these things on the side just to make money, while being the sole caretaker of two kids. He had started working this one job where he had met this group of friends, and I was like, oh great, he has friends now. And even though I wasn't allowed to have any, I was thinking like, okay, cool, if I encourage him to have friends and make friends, then he'll be okay with me having friends, and I'll be able to have my friends again. Which that did not happen at all. He started going out, hanging out with his friends, and if he was with his friends, he would not answer the phone to me. He would not even come home most nights on a phone plan together. So I ended up doing research, and like looking through his messages and figuring out he was staying the night with women from his work. It was definitely soul crushing, because although I knew he was mean, I honestly had thought he was faithful. So that really hurt. But not only was he doing that, he made me feel so delusional that I ended up believing him that he wasn't even doing that. Our baby girl was only a few months old at this point, and I remember when he'd finally come home from those nights, I would just beg him. I would cry and I would be sobbing, and I would just be like, why am I not enough for you? Why are we not enough for you? He was a very big online poker addict, and that was kind of my way to get him, to do whatever I'd wanted, which was usually to stay at home. So I would throw money at him. And I remember one night I had given him $200 to play online poker, and I didn't have any money left in my bank account. And he got upset after he lost and was like, okay, well, now I'm leaving. And so I got really, really upset because I'd already given him $200. Next thing I know, he slapped me in the face. I just remember I was in shock. He had never, ever, ever been physical with me, and I just let him leave. That was, the first night that he was gone and I wasn't blowing up his phone. I was just numb, completely shocked on the inside, deciding, do I call the cops? I remember laying in my bed that night and I couldn't sleep at all. I was so sick, and he came in at about 5 a.m. and I just laid in the bed, actually scared for my life. And he came in the room, he started getting loud, and there was a baby in the room, of course. And I was like, hey, keep it down, please. I don't want to traumatize our baby. And he was like, give me your phone. I know you're a WHORE. I know you're cheating on me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what makes you think that? Like, where is this coming from? I was like, you just slapped me in the face before you left. And he told me he didn't care. And he was like, did you tell anyone about that? And I was like, no, I didn't, which I hadn't. I did take a picture and it was on my camera roll, and he didn't believe that I didn't send it to anybody. And he was like really angry. He wanted me to tell him like who I sent it to and what man I was talking to and all this the third. And I was like, no one, I promise I'm like not doing anything like that. And he was mostly upset that I wasn't blowing him up, because every other night he'd left me, I was blowing him up the whole night, trying to figure out where he was and just basically being crazy. And he was upset I wasn't doing that. And because I wasn't doing that, I was cheating. But I was just so in my head about him getting physical with me